Well, hello. Is anybody out there? Yeah, I'm not sure. I kind of messed up and did not get my notification set up right to go out on Facebook. Still learning EV Mux. You have to get down there and tell it to separately that you're going to going later. So, oh well. That notification did not go out. So hopefully I am live. It's showing, let's see. Make sure that I'm actually online. So it doesn't seem right. So I messed everything up somehow. Let's see here. If I do this and I switch my account. All right, Jeff, you're on. Good deal. So I'm live then. That's a good thing. How's my audio? Had some problems last time. I think I had that all fixed and under control. Oh man, as usual, I'm always busy doing stuff. Good. I'm glad it's good here. Oh man, I didn't get a chance to take many notes this week. It's just too busy, and man, I don't even know what I was doing. Look up and see if I did write anything down. I don't think so. Nope. I'll give everybody a chance to get on here. See if anybody else will join. There's probably someone else live streaming, my luck, because I don't pay attention to that. I just kind of go when I get a chance to go. So I'm going now. I did tell a couple friends, and Facebook messed up. I didn't get a chance to set a notification up there anyhow. So doesn't look like a whole lot of people are coming on. I'm tired too, so this ought to be fun. I've got a lot going on in the fish room. If you look behind me, I got some new aquariums back here. But skipper's still rolling. Should be ending soon. Okay. Uh, I'm not in a hurry. Anyhow, so if you look behind me, I've got new aquariums. I got this new rack set up. Below me is the fry grow out system that I was talking about building. It's up there and running. It's working great. Already got fry in it, and things seem to be working fine. Trying to raise as many fry as I possibly can, so I can get them out there to more people. And selling them definitely helps cover the cost of doing it because this is not definitely not free, especially when you're first setting things up. All things live, all things fish is live as well. Yeah, it figures. Oh well, not a big deal. People will watch it on the replay if they're interested. Uh, yeah, so I'm trying to breed these fish as many as I can. So I've got now a total of three of those fry grow outs. Each one has 10 shoe boxes in it, and then I have a couple extra grow outs over here too. I've got about 6 or 7 slots in that I'm filling up. So I've got the first two of those fry grow outs are completely full. So that's 20 shoe boxes full of fry, and then behind me I've got three there. Man, no, it's not. I'm doing it really cheaply though. I have found a lot of the tanks free. I found some of them online. I mean, on like Facebook Marketplace. I've been looking around, scrounging. If I go to a resale shop and they've got a tank that looks good, I grab it. I did kind of. I got a bunch of five and a halves I bought for. I think it was like $55, but I got like 11 of them, so I got a pretty good deal. Started using them, started working great. Then all of a sudden, one leaked. I was like, "What the heck?" So no big deal. I took it out of commission, brought another one in there, and this time I started filling them up outside just to be sure. About half of those were leaking, so many, probably 4 or 5 of those have already cut the all the silicone out of the inside. I didn't actually cut it down between where the two sides come together. I just left that there, and I just cut the seams on the inside out and re-siliconed them. The key is you got to get all of that silicone out. You got to work hard. It's a pain in the butt, especially a small tank where you got to get your hands in those little corners and stuff. We got bigger hands; it's hard to get in there. It can be a pain. So I think probably about a 20-gallon tank would probably be a sweet spot, where it'd be big enough to get your hands in there, but it's not so big it's cumbersome and hard to move around. 10 gallons aren't bad. I did a 10-gallon too, but I decided 10 gallons are just so easy to find and usually pretty cheap that it's not really worth my time to reseal a 10-gallon aquarium because then the silicone, man, the price of silicone went way up recently. At least the last couple of years, I was like, I'd use that stuff all the time for building, for putting silicone on the back of dart frog tanks. I would basically I'd build foam and everything, build the wall in the back, and then put silicone over that, and then stick whatever kind of substrate I wanted, like cocoa husk or stuff like that, in there and make it look cool. So I was using lots of silicone. It wasn't that expensive. I went to buy some recently. It's like $10 a tube, and I'm like, what the heck? So it ends up kind of like, not really being cost effective. But a 5 gallon, 5.5 is so small that you don't need a lot of silicone. So you can get a couple tanks, sealed up with one can of silicone. So it's pretty cost effective that way, especially if you already have the tanks, you've already bought them. You might as well, take it out. But it's just time consuming, sitting there and sitting scraping. Yeah, I think it's fine for small tank. It is. I have. If I wouldn't do a really big tank, I don't think it'd be uh, real pain to do that anyhow. So I cleaned a couple of them out, and they held water fine, no problems. But you just have to go in there and, man, you got to scrape it with a razor blade, and then clean it with alcohol. Go back in and scrape it again. Make sure you got everything, all the corners. It seems like there's always an edge or a surface you missed. Second time through. So I usually scrape it all out really good with a razor blade. Best I can get it. Hit it with alcohol. Let it sit there for a couple hours. Scrape it out again. Make sure I got all of it out. Then hit it with alcohol again. If I put my fingerprints on it, nothing. And then quickly silicone it up. And I usually use my finger to kind of lay the bead down. It seems to work pretty good. It's not that big a deal. It's just kind of a pain. And if you want to get neat and nice on it, put some the blue painter's tape all on the edges, right along the edge, right along the seams, where you don't want to keep, you want to keep the silicone from spreading everywhere. Made a mistake the first time. I let stuff dry before I took the painter's tape off. I don't know what I was thinking, but that doesn't work because it ends up pulling the silicone right out of the seam. So don't do that. Learn from my mistakes. So I've got a couple of those sealed up. I got one more that's all scraped out. I need to do the final clean out with alcohol and then seal it. So I'll have another tank there. But right now they're doing a sale at PetSmart. I don't know if it's PetSmart and Petco, but I know my local PetSmart has 50% off sale going on. So I've been had my wife grab 4 of them, and then I went back down and found 2 more they got in. So I grabbed those. So I've got 6 total here recently. The reason I'm buying so many is I want 5 over here on this shelf, and then I'm putting a whole nother one of these racks over there against the wall. And I'll end up putting like 15 10 gallons on that. This baker rack here, uh, all right, thank you, Fish Fam. Uh, so this baker's rack is one of the ones that's designed to hold 800 pounds per shelf. So if you do the math, 5.5 gallons on times 5, there's plenty of room. It's not even close to being overweighting it. I do have some of the other ones over here that are rated at, I think it's 350 per shelf, and that's starting to get a little bit, sags a little bit on over there. So I'm gonna have to replace those. I think, with the heavier duty ones. Definitely worth the extra few bucks to get the heavy duty ones. So, ugh. So that's what I got going on there. And right now I've got some wooden stands that I built over here, where I've got 3 20-gallon longs and 3 20-gallon highs. These are the very first racks that I put in this room. I didn't know where I was going with the room. I kind of like started building stuff. Go, well, I just have to, figure it out as I go. But 20 gallons seemed to be a pretty good sized tank for most fish to keep and stuff. So I thought that'd be kind of cool. Hey, George RB3, welcome. But after I started breeding all these killifish and things, I realized I need 5s and 10 gallons is really what I need most of. There's a few killies that you'd probably need a 20-gallon long for, like the blue glares. That'd be nice to have a bigger tank. But most stuff that I do, I just use the smaller tanks, and it works great. In fact, most of my pairs I'm breeding out in 5 gallons, or 5.5, what do you want to call them. But that's the most common tank I use. I use a ton of those things. I'm going to get a lot more of them too. With all these fry grow out systems I got set up, I'm going to have a lot of fry growing out, and I'm going to need a place to put those fry until they get big enough to sell. So that's why I'm adding so many 5-gallon aquariums. 2.5s. I do have a couple 2.5s I run, but for some reason I just don't like those really that well. Even for the very small fry, I don't know what it is. It just doesn't seem to work well. I can do little fry grow outs, and a lot of times I have a fish lay 4 or 5 eggs and on a week period. So I put those eggs in a little container, hatch them out, and I may get 3 hatch out. and then one will die. So I've got like two fish left over. So it's like, what do I do with these two fish? I don't want to take a whole shoebox because I'm looking on my shelf and I've got other little tubs that have got 20, 30 eggs in it that look like they're going to all hatch out. So I don't want to fill all my shoe boxes up with just one or two fish. It doesn't make any sense. So I've got these smaller tanks. I got them from Daiso. If you ever seen the Daiso, it's like a Japanese dollar store, for lack of a better term. Stuff's like more than $1 there. They got some pretty cool stuff in there. So I've got these little tanks. They're all full right now. I'll show you one of them. And they got a weird sliding top. It's like got a little edge that doesn't move, and instead slides back, kind of clips in. So I've been putting some guppy grass in those and putting my fry in that, and I set them on a rack. And that's really cool because I can slide it back, I can feed real quick and open and close to keep the Achilles from jumping out or anything. They seems to be running really well. I'm not really have to do water changes as long as I'm very careful in feeding. If I mess up and overfeed, then I'm going to then I go in there and do a water change the next day and suck out all the food. But as long as I'm very careful and I put very little food in there, it works great because the containers are small. It keeps the fry close to where the food's going to be. Uh, so it's working fabulous. All of those little tanks, I have probably 6 or 7. I need a bunch more. What I'm going to do over here, if you see on top up here, I'll get all this stuff up here for now. I think I'm going to use that for live foods and for extra room for fry, for small little tanks like the ones I'll have a couple in. I may actually, even on the new rack, I may take one of those shelves and just make it an area where I can do a bunch of small little containers of fish. Because seems to happen quite a bit. I want to get a couple fry hatching out. Not a big deal, but it adds up. So you got a couple fry here, a couple fry there, a couple fry there. Before you know, you have a lot of fry. So it's worth keeping them. And I don't want to kill them or anything just because they're only one or two of them I have. And I'm trying to keep pairs of, especially the ones that aren't having a good hatch rate. I want to keep a pair of those to grow up, and those will be my breeders because they've grown up in my water. Now, the theory is going to be, I'm going to test it. I don't know if this is going to work, but I'm hoping that if those that grew up in my water and are used to the way I feed my foods, I'm hoping I'll get better hatch rates. That's what I hope. So I think that's going to be pretty cool. So, man, I don't know how many fry I would have. I've got so many. I've got 100 around there, probably about 85 tanks in the house with got water in them, and pretty much everything's got fish now, except for a few. So I got a ton of stuff. I'm also getting a shipment tomorrow from the AKA, American Killifish Association, and there's some fish I'm going to hold on to. So when I go to Houston, where they're going to have a booth down there, I'm going to be I kind of help get that all set up, and they're going to have a couple of volunteers that are going to go down, and they're going to help out setting the booth up, running the booth. So we're going to have some bunch of killies on display, and these killifish that I'm taking with me, and I'll probably end up donating some of my own fish too, are for new members. So if you join the AKA period, they'll give you a free pair of killifish. If you're like right now, if you're to join and there's no show going on near you or no one's near you, they would ship you a pair of killies, but you have to pay shipping. So at the show, if you sign up, I can just hand you a pair of killies right there at the show, and here you go. So it's pretty cool. I'm only working with clown killies currently. I'm mostly making enough to not lose them. Man, clown killies are what I want to work with. I haven't done it yet. I had a couple of them, man, a long time ago, and they didn't do very well for very long. I don't know what happened, but I definitely want to get back into those. And I've got an idea. I think it'd be kind of cool. I was watching Papa Shrimp. He had a little short out about clown killifish and how he was raising them. Gave me an idea. What if I took like a 55-gallon aquarium, got a lot of vegetation there, probably a lot of pearlweed. So I'm gonna grow a bunch of pearlweed in that thing. Get it, like a foot deep of pearlweed on top of that thing, just packed full of pearlweed. Get an insane amount of pearlweed, and drop me a bunch of killies in there. Maybe not a bunch, maybe 6, 7 pound killies. Make sure I've got some pairs in there, and leave them. I mean, feed them just a little bit here and there. Let them do their thing, and see if I can fill that tank full of clown killies. I think that'd be cool to see a bunch of these little clown killifish up in a big old giant 55-gallon aquarium, I think it'd be really cool. Then I could, have enough coming after that. I can actually start selling some off once it got to a dense enough population where they're going to start eating all the fry. It's gonna be hard for them to eat fry though if I do a dense thick mat of uh, the pearlweed. That pearlweed gets really dense. It's some cool stuff. You can do it. You can put it anywhere you want. I mean, you can hook it to the bottom. You can hook it to any kind of hardscape. So it's real versatile. So I think that'd be fun to do that to get a bunch of man. I mean, just a bunch of killies, crown killies. If you just have them watching them going through all that pearlweed, drop a bunch of brine shrimp or maybe some daphnia, that type of thing, or just watch them hunt stuff down. I think I could spend hours sitting there staring at that tank. They're 100% fry and possible egg eaters. Yeah, no, that's why I would want that really dense mat of vegetation of some sort. But pearlweed came to mind. Maybe mix in with guppy grass and pearlweed, and of course, algae kind of gets in there too, which is great for fry. It makes a nice dense area that the parents can't get into. But I think if you have enough room like that, a 55-gallon aquarium, there's so much room in that thing. I think that would be just awesome to to watch what happens. Realistically, I'd like to do that with some other fish too. Some of the top spawners like that. Maybe some of the Evaplides, maybe Lamonte, and uh, there's a bunch of several of them I could do. You could do all kind of stuff like that. Be kind of cool. I just wonder how many you end up with when it become a problem. But anyhow, that's kind of what I'm thinking of. So I may have some uh, striatums Achilles coming out. Hornwort mixed in, yeah, hornwort would work good. And I've got with the hornwort that I have, I found it on Lake Worth, right here in the Fort Worth area, and the stuff is like really kind of dense. It's really coarse too. It's a different. It looks a little different. And maybe I'll be a hornwort. Maybe it's some kind of a something very similar to hornwort. I was wondering about, I know stonewort is another one that looks like hornwort, but it's actually an algae. But that's real easy to, man, you know when you have that. If you break it off, it gives you that skunky smell to it, and it's just a different texture, but it looks a whole lot like hornwort. But it's not. So I'm not sure exactly what this is, but I'm pretty sure it's hornwort. But anyhow, it would work great in that it grows great in my water. You just hit it with enough sunlight. It does take a little nutrients, so you'd almost have to put a little bit of fertilizer in it to keep it going because it seems like it just sucks everything out of the water so fast that I have a hard time keeping it alive because it starves itself out basically because it just does a good job. Especially when you only have a 5-gallon aquarium with a pair of killifish in there and you got a bunch of hornwort. Well, you're not feeding the tank really enough to produce enough waste to be able to really feed the hornwort and the duckweed I've got too. The duckweed takes over, sucks everything out. So I usually have a hard time even detecting nitrates in my water. It just automatically gets sucked out by the plants, which is a good thing. Some of my stuff has a deeper substrate in it too, so that helps suck those nitrates out. So I don't have to do water changes very often. I'll do a water change if I notice the tank is not looking right. If you do this for a while, you can go, okay, that tank is not something in right. I need to do a water change on that. Or if I'm going out fry, I do water changes on fry. I have a two and a half with native hair grass uh, that did great for a while. You can eat, but yeah, if I'm raising up these fry, I've noticed that if I do a water change, I'll see a lot of growth really fast. So I think it really helps to do water changes. I think they're giving off hormones, and hormones kind of builds up in that water and causes a problem. But I'm not 100% sure, but that's what seems like what's happening. So I'm going to start really changing more water out here, try to get these fish as big as I can get them for that show in Houston. It's on the 9th and 10th. So I want some really nice, big, healthy killifish out there for the show. And maybe that'd be really cool. But so far, it looks like I'm going to have I kind of, it's hard to tell. You look in the tank and you got so many fish. You got a tank full of fish and they're just growing up. It's sometimes a little hard to tell if they're male or females, and it's really hard to tell if you got pairs. You may have a tank full of fish, but that doesn't mean you have pairs. They might all be females. So just kind of a guesstimation. I went through and wrote down how many I have of each species. Looks like I'm going to be about 60 pair or so available. And I think there's about 7 or 8 species that I have. I may have striatums. They look like they're growing fast enough. I'm just hoping I get some color out of them because they're a good sized fish. Think I should start seeing color. This will be the first time I've actually raised those up from fry. They're big enough that most of the other Achilles you should be starting to see some color on them. I'm not, so I'm kind of a slightly bit afraid that I have nothing but females, which would really suck. The striatums are absolutely gorgeous fish, and having just all females and that would really suck. But clowns, I can tell fairly young. Yeah, some of the stuff you can tell, man, when they're just tiny. I can tell if they're male or females. Like the Nothiobranchus, the annuals, man, they sex out within a couple weeks. You can sex those guys out, no problem. Uh, but man, some of these other ones, they just take forever. I'm trying to think what else. Dei were fairly easy too. I figured out how to sex them out pretty pretty easy by the when they're small, they all have barring, black barring on their body. And they're just tiny fry. But as they start developing, the males start losing most of the barring on the top of their body, and they keep a little bit down there. And eventually, it just turns into a couple dots, like 3 dots or so on the side. So they kind of change. As soon as you start seeing that color fading away at the top, you know hey, it's a male. And if they stay about the size, that really bold barring on it, you know you got a female. So it's not that hard. Then you can also tell by the anal fin too. The males have a really sharp, pointy one, and the females kind of more rounded, round the tip on it, so you can kind of tell that way. But man, when they're really small, that's hard to see, especially when they're moving around. That's it can be really tricky. So I've got so many fish that man, it's going to take me all day. I took the day off. It's going to take me all day to pack fish just to bag them, and then I have to bag the killifish associate the AKA's fish too. So it's going to take a while. So I think what I'm going to do differently this year is beforehand, I'm going to go through and take out all the duckweed I can. This will be a few days before. So take all the duckweed out of the area. That'll do multiple things for me. Keep getting duckweed off everything. It keeps so much duckweed out of the packaging that I try to get them, the bag or whatever. I don't want the duckweed in there. I try to get that duckweed out. And then it also makes more light in the tanks, and that's going to make a big difference. Being able to see in there, especially when you're looking at those little guys looking for some color on them, when you got like a real thick mat of algae on algae, but the duckweed on top, it's a pain. So I'm going to suck all that out as much as I can, and then is any of the smaller Achilles that are a little bit tricky to tell if it's male or female, I'm going to try to go beforehand and separate them all out. So move all either the males or the females into a separate tank. And of course, label and everything. This should really streamline things. So now, whenever I go to bag everything up, I can hit one tank, pull female, hit the other tank, hit a male, much quicker than I could before. So that should really speed up the operation. That's really what takes me a long time. Sitting there trying to catch that one male, and he's in there. There's 2 or 3 females, and you're trying to chase him around, or like the Epiploides uh, dangai, what the name of it anyhow. So those things are the opposite. You stick a net in there, they all swim in the net. So now you got like 5 fish in the net. You're going trying to get them out, trying to get just a pair or just one fish. It's a pain. So I think separating them out is going to be a real big time saver, especially the ones that are hard to distinguish. Stuff that's easy to tell apart, I'm not going to worry about that. I'll just go in there and chase them down. If I have any duckweed, that's going to help. But I'm going to try to lay everything out, lay the room out, lay my table out, try to get the thing organized, get all the extra, anything that's laying around that doesn't need to be here, needs to get out of the room, get it super clean, laid out, and just knock it out. I hate bagging fish. That's the only thing about this whole hobby and the whole experience that I don't like doing. Sitting here for hours going through, I mean, literally 8 hours or 9 hours sometimes, going through trying to bag out fish is a real pain in the butt, you know. Which reminds me, I saw a video today from Jadran Aquatics. I don't know if you guys have seen Jadran before. Great guy. I couldn't say more good things about it. I really enjoyed working with him when he was around here, but he moved from Mansfield all the way up to Graham. And in that move, he has a print shop. He moved to print shop. He's still building a print shop. And he had a big fish room here. The idea was to get the fish room going out there, get back up and going. Well, he found out that the way the shipping works out there, they basically take your package, stick it in the truck all day long before it goes out. And so you really can't do that most of the time with fish. So he's not going to be able to ship fish, and the cost of trying to heat and cool the fish room they would have was going to be too much. So he's not going to be carrying fish out there. But his partner that does all the guppies is going to be selling fish through his website and locally too, and shipping them out from the local Dallas Fort Worth area. So that'll be cool. So this is got doing that. But Jadran, man, he bought a bunch of my surplus killifish. If I ended up having too many of them, I would wholesale them to him. And he always told me, whatever you make, I don't care how many you breed, I'll buy them all. I was like, okay, are you sure? Is that almost a dare? But he was good to his word, man. Every time I'd go out there and go, hey, I got this many fish extra. You want them? Yep, bring them. Okay, bring them out there. Nope, no questions asked, man. It was awesome. So I really enjoyed doing that. So uh, I'm getting better, but it's still slow, man. I know. I'm really slow too. And I did find the vacuum sealers, not the vacuum sealers, but the regular all the bag sealers. That saved a lot of time trying to do it either tie knots or put rubber bands on stuff. Oh, forget that. That's insane. The bag sealer saves a lot of time. So I tried something. Yeah. What kind of stuff do you have, Jeff? What kind of fish do you usually, except for the clown killies? Because you never know. I might know somebody that can help you buy them wholesale. But anyhow, so I bought something on Temu to see if it would work. This is like a little sealer, like a bag sealer. And it seals, but there's got to be a technique to it. But you got to get this thing just right. Go too fast, it doesn't seal. Go too slow, it starts tearing and pulling. Yeah, man, it's a pain. So I don't know. I think it only cost me a couple bucks. Figured I'd try it. It's got a USB connection on the back to charge it up, so it's wireless. So it might be something I throw in a bag to take to a show or something. In case one of my bags starts leaking, I might be able to seal it up real quick with this, or rebag it and kind of get lucky and put a bunch of seals on it and try to get it right. I don't know, but I'll at least bring it with me. It's worth a try. If the bag's already leaking, why not? Plecos are must hit enter too fast. Man, I do it all the time. You type in hit enter, it's like gummit, and I realize it's typos and everything else. Oh, okay. Get the L046, L104, L129, L134, 73, 73Bs. That's interesting. I guess I played close attention to plecos to realize what a 173B would be other than 173. Uh, and 380, 397, 471. Not also many Roger Plecos, bristle nose, albino, short, long fin. Yeah, you got a bunch of cool stuff. Yeah, I like Plecos. Uh, some of the bristle nose stuff. I have in some of my tanks, but a lot of the doesn't really work well when you're trying to breed killies. They just end up eating your eggs. So I don't have a lot. I have some of the bigger tanks, and they're even breeding. I threw a 3D printed cave in there that I made, and they're breeding there all the time. If I want to breed them, I just throw some extra food in there for a few days. Next thing you know, they're in the cave. So pretty easy to get going if I want them. But yeah, just kind of don't really want to breed them all the time because I guess I could sell them, but I'm more into the killies right now. And I did get. Well, somebody gave me some of the wild type bettas, betta rubra. Gave me 8 small fry. I mean, like quarter inch or smaller fry. So I'm growing those up to see. Hopefully, I got some pairs. So that'd be really cool to start breeding those guys. I think I would enjoy that. So I was scrambling around rams, angels. Uh, oh man, dwarf rainbows, flagfish. I like flagfish. I get some of those guys. Oscars, peacock gungans, platies. The peacock gungans, those have caught my eye a few times. I've thought about doing some of those. So it looks like you got a pretty big fish room too. Probably a lot bigger than mine. At least the tank sizes are probably bigger. Although I do have a 150-gallon tall, which is an absolute pain in the butt to try to clean. So I can't. I can reach my arm all the way in there, and my all the way up to my armpit, and I can. My fingers will reach almost to the bottom of my substrate. Because my substrate now, I have like 4 inches of substrate at the bottom of that thing. So yeah, that's kind of a pain. So tomorrow, I was getting ready, for the show here. Tomorrow, I'm giving a presentation to the the Reptile Amphibian Club for University of Texas at Arlington. Some of the students there have got I think it's called the Maverick. I have to get the name of it. They put a thing out. Feel bad now. I can't remember the name of the actual club, but they do pretty. It's gonna be pretty cool. I know some of the guys there with that club. It's gonna be really kind of. I think it's gonna be fun. I love to give talks like that. That's kind of like what I've done a lot over the years, and that's kind of uh, what I'm really known for, doing these kind of talks and talking about our native snakes. In fact, here, see, I've even got a degree. Uh, I don't have any kind of degree at all when it comes to reptiles, amphibians, or wildlife, anything. My degree was in aviation, so doing things like working on aircraft. That was what I started doing. Started working on helicopter gyros, and then got in with the phone company now. So that's kind of what I do for a living. So that's what my background education is. Got like 208 credit hours or something like that. But yeah, that's what I did with my time. I learned how to work on electronics and aircraft, and that was cool. Here, let's go back to the screen share. I'm gonna share some of the. I've got so many. I was looking at my phone, and it looks like I have between somewhere around 16,000 photos on my phone, and a lot of those are reptile and amphibian related. Not all of them, of course. Some of them are screenshots and things like that, but it's hard to separate all that out. But, I like going out and looking for things like this cottonmouth. This is a pretty cool animal in the Brazos River. So that was a taxidermied snake. A friend of mine, Amethyst, did that taxidermy. Man, that photo. She still has that snake, but that photo was taken. Man, how long would that have been? I was taken before my kids were born. I've got a 23-year-old daughter now, so that was probably 25, 24, 25 years ago. It's crazy. Yeah, I do stuff like this, help people identify things. I put this together to help people identify what a cottonmouth actually looks like. People misidentify about everything as cottonmouths. It's kind of crazy. Here's another one of my memes I put together. So the top one's a copperhead, bottom one's a cottonmouth. And you'd be surprised that these snakes are actually in the same genus, so they're close related. But you'd be surprised how much they look alike. So putting things together like this, like you see this guy who's got a black stripe right across the face, and this black stripe you would only really use to compare a cottonmouth for a copperhead. So don't think if it's got a black stripe through the eye, it's automatically a cottonmouth. This is only to distinguish between the two, because it can be a lot harder to think. That baby racers are really hard to tell for most people. Oh, here's a good one. This kind of dispels a myth about the eye shape. So if you look at this one, slit eye, right? That's got to be a venomous snake, right? And this one's got a round pupil. Actually, this is a copperhead venomous, and that isn't a non-dangerous snake. It's a night snake, a Texas night snake. Not dangerous in any way, but it actually does have a rear fang and does have a little bit of toxin. But there's lots of other examples of slit eyes in non-venomous snakes, like rosy boas and rubber boas up in the northwestern United States. They both have slit eyes, and they're not dangerous whatsoever. But this guy here was actually blind in that eye. But any snake at night, when any animal at night, their eye dilates open. So that's why it looks around. Yeah. Kind of cool way to identify mossasauga rattlesnake here in North Texas. It's got these lightning bolt patterns on top of its head. Yeah, it's venomous. Well, it's kind of a bad image. I have a better one somewhere. But as you can see, this one's got a slit and that one's got a round, and they're both copperheads, broadbanded copperheads. This one, he was just in a hide box and come crawling out. His eye hadn't changed yet. Man, I had a copperhead. Actually, it's this one right here. That if I walked into the room, I spooked it. The eye would immediately go completely dilate round and then go back pretty quickly. And I've always wanted to stick a camera, like a small camera or something in there and record when I walk in there, just get that initial response because it's actually really cool. Here's a good example of that flared head thing. So you got a rat snake here with this big old flared head. That's that's a non-venomous, not dangerous. Tons of these around, bitten by these hundreds of times. They just have little needle teeth and doesn't do much damage. Versus a copperhead. And if you look, this guy actually has more of a triangular shaped head than this guy does. So you can't use that as a identification tool. There's another example. There's a cottonmouth and a western rat snake. Good old Texas garters and western ribbons. And you can kind of tell the difference with all these little barring on the lips. And where this line is placed, it's on a different set of scales than it is over here. White clouds, guppies, and there's two lines of whiptails. Oh, whiptails are kind of cool. Five types of guppies. And too many fish, probably. Wow, yeah, you got a lot going on, man. That's a that's a pretty good list. I need to get some white clouds. I had a few of them for a while, and they bred a little bit, and I'm not sure what happened to those. They must have just kind of. I don't know. It's been a long time ago I had those, but I need to do it again. Nah, it's too small to see. Cottonmouth. All right. If you really think you're good at identifying native snakes of Texas, there you go. If you can identify all those species, I'll be impressed. You'll definitely impress me. Uh, it took a long time to put this graphics together, the individual snakes photos. And I need to go in here and I need to, uh, man, work on the colors. A lot of those kind of dark and just it can be way better. But hey, you never know. It's kind of like some of the photos we get to identify from. Just some cool stuff, belly patterns and all that good stuff. Good old cottonmouth. If you notice, you don't really use the triangular shape part of their heads, but if you notice this guy's got a pretty blunt nose. I mean, not blunt, but pretty kind of a pointy nose. And there's a ridge line right here, a real sharp edge. And if you look at the side of these things, they have a super flat head too on them. That's kind of the thing. And the eyes are on the side of the body. What the heck? Come on. There you go. That's a diamondback water snake, non-venomous. But look how big it is compared to that dollar bill. Well, they'll learn to focus. Yeah, why? Experience it all. I mean, I try to do everything. So, like, I'm talking about snakes right now. I was just talking about fish. I also am a licensed falconer. Don't have a bird right now. Probably won't be flying a bird this year. Just too much going on. Don't have time to commit to that. Uh, so permanent licensed rehabber. I've got birds in the house here that have been they're pets. That people found out in the wild and they'll bring them to me. So I'm all over the place. In the electronic stuff too. I do all kind of different little projects with like Raspberry Pis and microcontrollers, and taught myself a little bit enough programming to set up a system that can monitor my tortoise out there. Is the whole goal of it. But uh, because I was afraid that the heater would go out in the winter time and he would freeze. He's outdoors in an insulated box with the door on. He'd come in and out with kind of like a bunch of stuff in the front. But I have this temperature sensor in there. It goes to an ESP 8266 dev board, and it broadcasts Wi-Fi, and it broadcasts to a server. And then the server would I get into it on my computer. I mean, on my phone or computer. I throw it at my phone, and it would give me the temperatures. It tracked them out. It would give me the humidities in there. I could set temperatures for temperature ranges. So if I went outside the temperature range, it would give me a warning. That would it would send a warning out through a text. It would set an audible alarm off at the unit, and it would actually send a tweet out. All those would say basically you got a over temp or under temperature alarm going off for Sherman's tank. So that was created from just a need. I needed to do something, and other people were going on vacations and stuff, and they would come back, and their AC had went out in the middle of summer and cooked all their snakes. She's like, "Nope, that's not happening to me. I am going to invent something or create something that'll they'll do that." Now you can buy those that are commercially available, but I was doing that. Oh man, probably almost 10 years ago. Now I haven't been 10 years, probably about 6 or 7 years ago. No, maybe it had to be more than that. Probably it was closer to 10. I'd have to look to see when I made that. But I had that set up a long time ago before they were commercially available, or released easily and cheaply commercially available. And this is all I could control it. So that was fun. And then I just started playing around with all kind of crazy stuff. Uh, and if you're on here last week, I was talking about making stickers. Scott, Jeff Kane, you can never have too many fish, in my opinion. That's an impressive list. That certainly is. So if you're talking, remember last week I was talking about stickers, making some stickers. So I did make one sticker already, just to kind of see how it would work. But I made these. Let me see if I can hold it up to the camera. See if I can even focus. It's a webcam, so I'm using on that thing. So it may not be able to focus that close. Hey, let's try. Let's go really close. Nope. Let's see. Oh, there I grabbed it. That's pretty cool. So there you go. So I made a bunch of these just to see if they work out. Look pretty good. So I'm going to make some other stickers too. This was made by a friend of mine. This was really cool artwork. And this is basically helping promote the wildlife rescue that I work for, the Nature's Edge Wildlife Rescue there at the bottom. I don't think it's kind of focused. It's focused good enough, I guess. That was a really cool design. And then Greg's Catfish Cave, welcome. I have a feeling one of the other live streams must have let out. I got to pick a better time and a better day that I can live stream without, going on top of somebody else. But also made these. I made these a while ago. This is a snake that I actually have right now that I use for education. It's a pretty cool sticker. I like that. I put it on different things. Now they're still going. Oh well, not a big deal. People catch it up on the replay. I'm not too worried about that. Plus, I got a small channel. I'm just still learning how to do all the stuff that I need to do. So this is great. So I screw up a lot now. Not a lot of people see it. It's cool. Where I can look back and go, ha, ha, ha. Boy, you're an idiot. I had no idea what you're doing. So, and I don't. I don't know what I'm doing. I just do the best I can. So what else? There's some other things I was going to mention that I had going on. The big Houston show. That's going to be cool. I know there's a few other people. A friend of mine, the Planet Warrior tank. I think he just got a table. He's going to be vending some of his plants, and I'm not sure at all, but he's planning on being down there too. He let me know about that. That'd be cool. Another friend here nearby, Addicting Aquatics. He'll be down there. He's the one that kind of told me about. Hey man, it's a pretty good deal. We should get down and do it. He's only like 15 minutes or so from me, so we're gonna be driving down to Houston, which is like about a 4 hour, maybe 4 hour plus drive, depending on exactly where you're going and the time of day. So my plan is to pack fish all day Friday. My wife will get off work, and whatever happens last. So if she gets off work and I'm done packing fish, or I she gets home and then I get done packing fish. Well, as soon as both of those things happen, we're going to get in the car and head down there. So we'll probably get down there kind of late Friday night and just get up early Saturday morning, head over there, set up. I'm not even sure what time setup time is, but they said we could. It's going to be in the big stadium down there, so they said that we could actually drive up to our booth and unload, which is, man, that's great. You don't have to haul stuff or carry things or cart stuff around, and all the water we could use and free electricity. So I was like, that's a pretty good deal. I probably have one tank on the table displaying killifish, showing people, and just other community fish too. I've done it before with the 1 day show here locally. Took a 500 gallon aquarium. I had some what did I use for substrate in the bottom? Something I already had. Oh, I know, it was decomposed granite. That's my favorite substrate. I already had that in there. I just went to the show. And there's one lady shows up. A to Z Aquatics. Great prices on plants and uh, uh, fish. I mean, it's the best prices around by far, and they were shipped too. So if you contact them, they can ship it to you. But I knew she'd be there. Knew I should have a lot of plants, so I just went over and grabbed some dwarf sage. No, it wasn't either. Yeah, it was too. It was some dwarf sage. Went over there and shoved it in the background of the aquarium, for the background of the aquarium after I had it set up, and that worked really well. That looked, man, once I put those plants in there, wow, it like popped. So I had several killies in there. I had what I have zebra. I mean, not zebra Daniel, a celestial pearl Daniel. Had a couple of those. I had some neon tetras, some galaxy rasboras. Uh, what else did I have? On killifish wise, I had gold australs, austral golds. I had um, what else? Striatums. I think I had striatum in there. Oh, gardener eye, sheila, probably a couple other things too, all in this tank. And man, it looked really cool. They were all younger fish. They hadn't even grown out all the way yet, but it's a good example of what you can put together. You can use killifish in the community tanks a lot of times, as long as you're using a little common sense. You know, if it's big enough to fit in a fish's mouth, it's going to. So you got to keep that in mind. You don't want to put some of the more aggressive fish in there with some of the killies or attack the killies. There's a couple killifish that are a little more aggressive, but you have to kind of put other semi-aggressive fish in there. You know, just use common sense. Oh, I think I had a couple darters in there too. Some of the slew darters, I think I had in there. Don't forget that thumbs up, gang. Even though there's glitching, it's glitching on my end. It says zero. Oh, it may not have anybody liked it yet. I don't know. Not a lot of people on tonight. But that's okay. I always keep going until eventually people start showing up. What would you think too if I did a live stream on this channel? I've got another channel too that I could probably do this on. But if I did a whole presentation on like the snakes of Texas, like I'm going to give to the college kids, uh, I don't know. It's something totally different. I know it's a fish channel, but people are usually like animals anyhow. When I hit it at stage zero, and just my luck. But anyhow, so I don't know. I'm thinking about maybe doing a live stream here, and I might live stream at multiple locations. So I could live stream it to this channel, then I could live stream it to Facebook, and there's a Facebook group that I created that I could live stream it to. It's it has about 190,000 people in it, so that could get some interest for sure. But I might not do it on this channel because this is sort of a fish channel, but it's more of a just what I got going on in the week channel. So I don't know what everybody's got planned for Thanksgiving. I'm not going to be doing a whole lot. Probably be here working in the fish room, trying to get this other tank, this other what do you call it, set up. Broadcast a lot of presentations that are giving at their fish presentations that are given at their fish club. I don't see any herpetology people wouldn't also be interested. Huh. Wouldn't say why herpetology. Yeah, so I could try that. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll do a simpler presentation. Sorry, feeding fish. Man, if you have so many fish, man, do you ever stop feeding fish? I mean, holy cow! Uh, it takes me. I feed twice a day to try to get some of these fish growing up and get the breeders going, conditioned up. So it takes me in the morning, oh, probably 35 minutes, maybe 45 minutes to feed everything. Yeah, it's like 35. But it depends on what, if I get distracted or if I have to, take care of an issue or whatever like that. But it takes me about 35 minutes. I run around and I use the good old uh, pepper grinder. And then for the fry in the morning, I use I got two different I got two different containers. Yeah, you can tell they're two different sizes. And no, I don't. I intentionally don't have a lot in these containers for a reason. I don't want to get it clogged up. I don't want it to go bad. So I keep a low amount of it. Different sizes makes it a whole lot easier to remember what's what. So that's why I do two sizes. But hello, Skitty. Uh, so the bigger one, it's got super fine powder in here. This powder, man, it's like baby powder. It's just super fine. So any of my newer fish, and the one thing I do is I keep I put stickers of what's in the tank and when it was actually laid. The eggs were laid. That's kind of the way that tag goes, sticks with them all the way up to the time I sell them. So that's the tag I use. So I know basically how big it is. Uh, how big the fish are in there by how old they are. So I don't have to look every day. So I'll start off feeding this in the mornings. So I'll just take a little bit of this and either shake it or squirt it. If I squirt it, it comes out pretty fast. So these are for a little bit bigger fish, or if I got a whole lot of them in that. And then I use this, which is ground on the second click on my, or first click on the pepper grinder. So finest setting. I just put a bunch of that in here. And also I mix in secret ingredient. Don't tell anybody. This is my secret ingredient. This makes them take off. So this is decapsulated brine shrimp. And of all places, I ordered this on Tractor Supply. I had the best prices on it. So this is just basically decapsulated brine shrimp. And I know you can decapsulate your own brine shrimp. I've tried it. I wasn't very good at it. Some other guys locally do it. They taught me how to do it, but it didn't work. So I just mix in a little bit of this too in here with this, probably maybe 25% or so of this. You got to be careful with this if you're doing it this way because it wants to float. So if you've got fish that only eat stuff that's on the bottom or sinking, this will sit on top and could foul the tank up because this stuff kind of goes bad. And it's nasty when it goes bad. If you're going to feed this to fish that like it more all lower in the tank, or you're worried about it going bad, reason I don't worry about it going bad is because I have a continuous flow of water going in and it's recirculating, and there's a big sump at the bottom with a ton of bacteria, room for bacteria to grow. So it basically purifies itself. So I don't have to worry about it too much. But if you use this another tank, you would want to put a little bit of this in a container and put water in it in that order. If you do it the other way, it sends the one with water in first, then you put this on top, it sits there and floats forever. You put this in first, the water goes over top of it and seems to absorb into it a lot better. Wait for 5-10 minutes, mix it up real good, keep mixing it until it's all sinking. And then take an eyedropper and or a pipette, whatever you want to use, and squirt it in your aquarium. And just use it sparingly because it's pretty potent. So this has got all the goodness in it that the baby brine shrimp have, but the baby brine shrimp, when you hatch them out, they immediately start burning through that energy that's stored up in the egg. This is the pure egg, so there's nothing for. It's got 100% energy in this thing, so you can't get any better than this stuff, in my opinion. And I've seen a big difference. This stuff, man, it takes stuff, it makes things grow. In fact, the uh, the crude protein is 62%, fat is 5% or less, or minimum of 5%. Fiber's 5, moisture's 5. So this is energy packed. So that's what I do in the mornings. Then, just get this back. And then when I come home from work, I immediately go in and start getting baby brine shrimp ready. Because I found this, sometimes my baby brine shrimp will take more than 24 hours. So it might take 25, 26 hours. So I've got to wait. So I come home the first night, say it's 5:30, get a batch ready. Next night, if it's not quite ready, it might go to 6:30 for 7 before it's ready. And then if I use that and replenish it, now it's 7, 8 o'clock at night. And then if it goes 25 hours, it gets 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, and eventually you have to skip a day to catch up. So I have uh, two vats running at the same time, and they're the Zist brine shrimp hatcheries. My wife got them for Christmas and for her birthday. So I got two running at the same time. So as soon as I get home from work, I start a batch running. And then I go do whatever I need to do and start feeding fish, pulling eggs, all that kind of stuff. Usually I pull eggs immediately. And then I'll pull all the eggs, and then I'll start feeding or thawing out the food. So usually in the evenings, I'll either go outside and get a bunch of mosquito larvae, or I go to the freezer and get some brine shrimp and some bloodworms and thaw those out. So I got to get those going, go ahead and feed everything that. And then the fry, they will get the brine shrimp that I hatched out from the day before I started. So now it gives me time too, so I don't have to hurry up and get that done. So if I get tied up and it's 8 o'clock before I feed the brine shrimp, I've already got something started at 5 o'clock. So the next day it'll be ready when I need it instead of having to wait so long. So I just kind of trade off. I only feed once a day and skip days here and there unless I have uh, intentional fry. Yeah, my fry I feed. So yeah, I feed them twice a day. So that's usually what I do. Then I'll feed the baby brine shrimp off. Or if I'm in a big hurry and there's no time for that, and sometimes in the morning too, I will use my microworm culture. You can kind of see that microworm culture right there is one of them. There's actually four cultures in a containers that are about this big, Tupperware containers, they're about like that. It's hard to see on camera, but they're decent sized containers. So I've got a lot of microworms going. So I can I just use a small container, go over and fill it with tank water, or pretty good amount of water because I have so many different fry tanks that it takes a lot of volume. And then I'll go and take a paintbrush and harvest the microworms out, put it in that, put it in the water, get them all saturated in there, and then take a pipette and divvy them out. Keep stirring it because they'll settle to the bottom. Keep stirring it up and divvy it all out to all the fish that I have. Uh, and that's usually what I do. And if I'm in a super hurry, I got to hit the door. I have no chance to go through and do all that. I'll just feed again with the dry foods. Just squirt it in there real quick, and it's full fast. And I can be in and out, be done with it. So that takes me probably a couple hours if I'm taking my time, just looking at stuff, making sure everything's good. So I'm spending probably 2.5, 3 hours probably a day in the fish room, at least. That's on just a normal day. If I'm going in, I'm moving fry around. If I'm if I had a lot of eggs that night that it took me forever to pull. Uh, just there's always little issues. Like some of the with the fry grow outs, the little tubes that pump the water in, they'll get algae in it because I've got some clear tubing. I need to switch over to some black tubing to keep that algae out. And I know I just been dragging my feet to do it. Some will have a green tubing in it, so I need to switch that out all night after work. Oh man, yeah, I usually end up spending quite a bit of time in here. Uh, Sometimes not as much as I really should. But if I'm doing water changes and things like that, it's going to take a little longer. And I try not to do all the water changes at one time. I'll just do a section, like one rack one night, or in a weekend I might take a couple racks or something, knock them out. But a 5 gallon aquarium is just not that bad. But I've got to work out a system where I can get the rainwater from outside on the back of the house. I've got a 275-gallon tote full of rainwater. I got to be able to easily get that rainwater from there in the tanks that are on the front of the house in a bedroom, like this room I'm in right now. If I want to do some of the Achilles do need some soft water to breed. Uh, I mean, that accomplish anything. Yeah, sometimes it's nice to sit in the fish room and just stare. I've been caught doing that for a few hours, but I need to get it from that from there to here, so I can keep some of these other Achilles that like to breed in the softer water. A lot of them will live just fine in the little bit harder water, but they don't want to breed until you get the water softer. Most of them, you don't have to worry about that. So I try to keep most of those out in the living room, which is close to that tote. So I use garden hoses and things like that to move the water in. and a big trash bag and a trash can with some with a pump in the bottom of it to pump water up into stuff. So I've got a few tricks. Oh, here's something I'm working on. One of my little tricks. My wife actually bought this for me. I found them somewhere, but I've got a bunch of voice activated. Well, just the Wi-Fi on-off switches. I got tons of those things all. So if I can use Google and turn these lights all off, different racks and different parts of the house and everything. It's awesome. And I have that set up on for my pumps, but sometimes it doesn't understand what I'm saying, and it's delayed. And you need to turn a pump off when you're filling a fish tank. You usually need to turn it off now. There's not goofing around trying to get it to listen to you. So she got me these. Uh, these are not Wi-Fi controlled, but they're controlled with a little remote. Uh, so I'm going to start playing around with these, and hopefully they're much more reliable. So I can turn channel one on and off. I can turn that pump on and off quickly if I need to. So I'm going to play around with these. Maybe this will be the key to moving water. Set a pump out there out back with a hose running through the house, maybe into a trash can that I'm putting water into tanks individually with, and be able to turn that water on and off to get it. I don't know. I'm working on something. It's still a pain with a freaking hose running through the whole house. I don't know about you guys, but I got a crackhead dog too. I got 3 dogs. One of them is a crackhead. I swear. This dog is hilarious. He does all kind of crazy stuff. But when I got my garden hose, when I got my python out, it's got the clear hose on it, right? She she likes to chase the air bubbles or any kind of debris going through the line. She will run around the house chasing bubbles and just biting at the tubing. She's actually only bit it twice. I have 2 holes in it. I've got it all taped up right now. I need to splice it and fix it, whatever. But she's done it twice. She's bit through the hose, but it doesn't matter if the hose is even not even working. I can lay the hose in the ground and just in the fish room like it wasn't earlier, and she's standing there staring at the hose for like a half an hour, just walking around looking at different parts of the hose, waiting for something to move. The dog's a crackhead. Uh, and then if I'm doing water changes, so she's used to seeing that hose and something running through there, and it's like chasing it. I can go outside and I can grab a regular garden hose, it's ones you can't see through, and she will be staring at the garden hose outside. And it's like, dog, what is wrong with you? I almost feel bad for her. It's just kind of funny. Uh, then when I'm actually doing water changes, if I'm real close and you got the hose kind of wound up and the stuff's going through it, man, she is just freaking out for hours. She'll just run through the house. The whole time I'm doing this, she is not going to take her eye off that hose. It gets real interesting, though, if I'm in the living room and I realize, oh no, I'm overflowing a tank. I'm just about to. So I try to sprint to the bathroom to turn the water off. Well, the dog now gets excited because I'm running through the house. So the dog wants to get in front of me to figure out what I'm doing. So she's in front of me, biting at the hose as I'm trying to get around her to get to the bathroom. She's tripping me. I'm screaming, yelling, trying to get her out of the way. And she's freaking out, getting more and more excited because she thinks, something fun's going on. And it's complete chaos. I have overflowed tanks because I could not get to them fast enough, tripping over a crazy dog. Afraid I'm going to trip on and hurt myself bad one of these days, but it's something else watching her. I have a video on my channel here too of her doing that. Just a short, quick channel, her just kind of staring at the hose, chasing the water bubbles around. But it's quite hysterical. Well, man, I've been on here for a while. Oh, let's see, Jeff. All my tanks are in the kitchen and living room currently. We are slowly working on a remodel, so slow. Um, so I can set up an actual fish room, and my wife can have the rest of the house back. Well, that's awesome. I hope you get that worked out. And I know, man, doing the remodeling stuff, man, it just doesn't seem like it should be a big a deal, but it just drags on and on and on. All these little details pop up, and man, if there's a mistake, man, oh geez, that really slows things down. Hopefully, you don't have to worry about that. But man, then you got to build a fish room. That'd be cool to have a little fish room. My wife wishes, she doesn't probably wish, but she really puts up with a lot because my whole living room, I've got 3 racks in the living room full of aquariums. I've got a bunch of other large aquariums in there. She doesn't know fit. In fact, the last couple of racks were her idea. She's like, a rack would fit right there. No, no, I don't need a rack. I don't have, I don't have time to work more aquariums. And then, of course, she planted that seed, and I started thinking, I could put things. I do have a little extra time. I just, I get up in like 10 minutes in the morning. It isn't that big a deal. And here you go. I got another rack set up, and for the racks, I found a really good lights that I like, and it seems, man, I don't know what. It's almost magical because I had all kind of problems with algae in some of the other aquariums with the aqua neat lights you put on top, designed for a 20 or 30 gallon tank or whatever, and I would get tons of algae in there, and I would fight that trying to lower the light. Then the plants wouldn't go good, and it was just this balancing act, and just never seemed to get it to balance out right. Well, built these racks, and I used decomposed granite in the bottom. A lot of them. Some of them have some sand and gravel, but almost all of them have decomposed granite. And I set these lights up, and from day one, I never had algae. I mean, we're talking like no algae. And I was kind of worried they weren't even cycled because there's no algae in them. I was using mulm and stuff from the other tanks and squeezing out sponge filters and things, but I couldn't get. I mean, usually a brown algae, diatom algae was terrible in my tanks. It would cover everything for a couple of weeks, a month or whatever. They'd eventually go away. That wasn't happening. Well, I don't know what was going on, but I don't have hair algae. I've had one or two tanks get a little bit of hair algae mixed in with. Usually, it's in with the what do you call it? The pearl weed. It gets algae in it real bad, but even that recently hasn't had any algae in it. So kind of magical. But I'll show you the lights. I believe I got these off on Amazon. What are they called? Here's a sticker on it. Let's see if it says where it came from. No. Another bin. Looking for a brand or a. So there's the brand name. And they are 4 foot. So they're LED integrated fixture, whatever. Man, I'm telling you, these are just single lights. I guess I don't have one left. I need to buy some more because I'm gonna set those racks up. But they're just a single light. You can chain them together. They're chainable, so they got the connection on both ends. So you can chain them together. They just, man, work so well. Oh, it looks like some people came in here. Let's see who just came in. Scroll back. Oh, way too far. Outside inequalities. Hey, you again. Awesome, dude. Thanks. Hey guys, I'm here, but I'm working. Cool. Scott spent last 2 days running electricity in my new fish room. Hopefully, put the outlets up high. Man, if I had a building that I was building, I would put outlets way up the top of the ceiling, around the top, so there's no way water could just leak into them. That'd be something I love to do. What brand lights? That's what I was trying to figure out. Maybe some off-brand things, but these were 6,500K. Trying to see anything in the container. But they're that Marina? I don't know. They were pretty cheap, but it came with 6 of them in a box. Let's see what this thing says. 6 packs of Mariana LED T5 fixture on-off switch. They are really cool. I mean, I am absolutely in love with these. And they're just an LED light strip, low wattage. Wait, there's a tag on the back. Let's see what this tag says. That still says the same thing. Model number. So INWT 50402 0650 BC. They're a 6500K 20-watt light bulb. And they grow plants, no algae. God, I couldn't ask for a better light. They're super light, easy to install. I mean, there's nothing to them. Uh, Tommy likes those ones a lot too. You know what I was doing, and I have stuff set up. I need to probably need to convert over to these, but I was getting some lights that were shop lights, 4 foot shop lights. They came like a shop light, but they had the strips in there were they had the round plastic on them, but they were wired in a way that you could take the ends off real easy, so unscrew the ends, and then take the wiring and rewire it. And I've done this with several of them and separate them. So you take one of those two lights because they were way too bright with two of them. You take one and you put it on one shelf, and then you wire it down and extend the wiring. Basically, extend the wiring and wire the second one to the second shelf. So it's half the price. So you spend your $20 on a shop light, but you're actually using two shelves with that one shop light. That worked pretty well. I've got those set up over here, and then they do fine. They do grow a little bit of algae. They're a little bit bright, I think, and they're like 6,000 K instead of 6,500. I don't know if that little bit of difference makes a difference or not, but it seems to do something. Uh, but I was using quite a few of those. They're a pain. You to rewire stuff, and if you don't know what you're doing, you can get yourself hurt. Which is all you're really doing is just extending the wiring. You're not doing anything different. You're just making the wiring longer. And so you got to use the right gauge wire, and you got to know how to solder or have some kind of good connectors, whatever. Just make the wiring longer and separate those lights out. Worked great for quite a while. Oh, well, we're way over an hour here. I got to get up tomorrow. I got to go to work, obviously, for a while. Then I got to go and do a nice talk. So to some of the kids at the university. So I've had fun. Thanks everyone for joining me tonight. And hopefully next week will be Thursday, will be Thanksgiving. So I don't think I'm going to be live streaming on Thursday night. I'm going to look on the Fish Fam, I think it's .info, whatever, I have it saved. I'm going to take a look and see if I can find their time slot that might work for me. Man, I get so busy that I have a hard time fitting it in. So I figured Thursday is right before Friday. Friday, I can't do it on Friday night. There's already people going on Friday nights, and I got stuff going on that I sometimes can't get on the live streams. I'm usually getting ready for a Friday, maybe for a Saturday. And the weekends, there's no way that's happening. Monday, I'm usually just recovering from the weekend. So, anyhow, I'm getting off here. Thanks everybody for joining me. Have a good night.